Okay, it's my honor to introduce our speaker today. Speaker is Gila Ross. Gila's vibrant, positive, and relatable style make her a well sought after and much loved educator with Seed UK with over 20 years experience. She has a passion for sharing the joy and relevance of Judaism and for positive parenting. Her Power Up podcast was named number 16 of top 50 Jewish podcasts worldwide. It has several weekly episodes, allowing listeners to access her wit, wisdom, and inspiration in their own time. You can find her on Instagram at It's Gila Ross, where she shares daily inspiration. The Ross's family's open and fun-filled home makes it a top destination for families wishing to celebrate Shabbos and the Chagim.
Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this really, really beautiful group of women that are coming together to daven and to learn. It's really very, very beautiful. So what I wanted to just share with you today is a little idea. We're in the Omer right now, and the question that I wanted to sort of explore together is, what are we trying to build into our neshamas with this mitzvah, right? Hashem has given us this mitzvah of counting every single day. We have to count day by day. What are we trying to accomplish? But before we even look at that question, I'm going to ask you another question. And that question is, why do we need to understand? Why is it so important to understand what we are trying to accomplish during the Omer? So this is a very important idea in Judaism, and we see it comes up again and again and again. There is an energy to the time, right? Every part of the year has a different energy, and in fact, every moment has a different energy, and just like every person has a unique mission, every moment has a unique mission. And something very powerful happens when we're able to tap into the energy of the moment. So I'll share with you a little bit of how this works. So we're told that when Abraham had his guests, when he went out to see the three angels and invited them in, what did he serve them? So we know that he served them the tongue. What you may or may not know is that the other thing that he served them is he served them matzah, which begs the question, why is he serving them matzah? And we're told the simple answer, the reason was because it was Pesach. Which brings up another question, which you might have when you're listening and you're thinking, hold on a second, timeline. Abraham came way before the Yidden even went down to Egypt. Forget about coming out of Egypt. So what do you mean it was Pesach? So here's the beauty of what's going on. We think oftentimes that, when it comes to Pesach, when it comes to Omer, when it comes to Shavuos, we're commemorating something that happened. What this anecdote about Abraham serving the angels, matzah, is teaching us is that there's something deeper going on here, right? That Abraham was served his angels, his guests, matzah, because he was tapping into the energy of Pesach, right? The energy of that time of year was an energy of freedom, which meant that when it came to Pesach time, that energy came alive. And now when we're after Pesach, we tap into that energy again. Right? There's that energy that Hashem brings. Every time of the year is a different type of energy. So for example, Pesach, there's that energy of freedom, of becoming free, of breaking through. And that's the energy that Abraham was able to tap into because he was so spiritually sensitive. And that's why he served his angels guests, his guests matzah. Now, why it's so important to understand the energy is because when we can work with that energy, powerful things happen. Right. For example, that there's a story that's told that Arizal, it was just before Shabbos, and he told his students, he said, let's go to Yerushalayim now. Right. He felt like that was the moment. And there was a hesitation. His students weren't bought into it. They were hesitant. They were a little bit weary, a bit nervous. And after that, he said, it's too late. We've lost the energy of the moment. We've lost the energy in the moment. And we see the opposite as well, right? You can't rush a moment, right? And when the Jews were in Egypt, the children of Ephraim, they tried to rush out of Mitzrayim. They tried to leave Egypt early. And they were punished for it because they tried to rush something that wasn't there. Now, it might sound, all these ideas might sound very, you know, esoteric and very up there, but let's try and bring it into our lives. And I think if you think for a moment about your life, you might also this might resonate with you, the idea that moments come and moments go, and when we tap into the energy of the moment, it could be very, very powerful. I'll share with you a story of someone that I know. So we used to live in Canada, Western Canada, and I knew a family there. There was a guy, and he was married to someone who wasn't Jewish, and he was very, very unaffiliated to the Jewish community. And he had an experience, and I don't remember what this experience was, where he felt like there was an awakening in his soul, in his neshama. There was an awakening there, and he missed it. He ignored it, as we often do, right? Let's be honest. You know, oftentimes we have an opportunity, we have something, a little whispering, and if we're not so sensitive to the voice, then we don't listen to it. What happened to him is that 10 years later, he had another incident that happened to him, and again, he felt like something was telling him, go and look into Judaism. And he had a moment of awareness where he realized, I had this happen to me 10 years ago, and I ignored it. And I'm here in the exact same place that I was 10 years ago. And he said, this time he listened. And he went into the shul. It was a very small community where we lived there, and you know, he was welcomed, and he started to learn, and his journey was incredible. At the time, he was married to someone who wasn't Jewish, and he had a couple of kids who also weren't Jewish, and he became religious. His wife converted. He's now a rabbi. The power of the story was, and he's an incredible rabbi. Like, he's impacted so many lives around the world. We even had him. I live in Manchester, UK, and we even had him speak via Zoom for us. Like, he's really an incredible person, and the power is because he was able to listen to that voice, to listen to that opportunity. In fact, the Chofetz Chaim says that each of us, every single one of us, Hashem is going to give us a call in our life that says, Mil Hashem Elai. And it may not be just once in our life, but there's a call. And if we're sensitive to this, if we can open ourselves up to being sensitive to the energies of the time, very, very powerful things can happen. And I don't know if this is starting to resonate with anyone. If you're looking back at your life, you're looking at where you are right now, and you're kind of feeling like, I wonder what the energy of what I'm going through at the moment is. Sometimes that call of Mil Hashem La'ilai is an opportunity that gets thrown at us, right? And you may feel like that opportunity might be a little bit bigger than what you think you're capable of, or it might be an opportunity that you wouldn't necessarily have thought, but it's an opportunity that comes in. And sometimes it's not an opportunity. It's a challenge that Hashem sends to us. And the call there, the opportunity there, is for us just to hold on. And it might be the hardest thing in the world at that moment, to hold on, to just hold on to where you are, and to hold on to that little thread of faith and emunah in Hashem. But perhaps if you're listening to that little voice, that little the power, the energy of where you are in your life right now, perhaps that is your answer to the call that Hashem is giving you at the moment, which Hashem is saying, Mila Hashem Elai. You know, this is your moment. So it's something that I think is a very it's a sensitivity that we can build within ourselves, that sensitivity to tapping into what is the energy of the day, what is the energy of the moment, what is the energy of where I am in my life right now, and what is, how can I use that to come closer to Hashem. And again, sometimes it's an opportunity that we throw ourselves at, and we see it, and sometimes it's a challenge, and it's a challenge just to hold on. But that challenge sometimes is what can make us into who we will become in the future. And so how do we build that sensitivity? How do we build that sensitivity? And I think one of the ways that we build that sensitivity is by going with the flow of the Jewish calendar, right? Because the Jewish calendar comes with a flow of energy. Every month, every Hebrew month has a different energy, and every Yom Tov, every Jewish holiday has a different energy. Shabbos has a different energy. The days of the week have a different energy. So let's talk a little bit about where we are right now in the Jewish calendar and what is the energy that we're in right now. Which brings us back to the original question that we started with, which is, what am I trying to build into my neshama by this mitzvah of counting? So I think one of the ways to understand this is to look at the original pattern, right? The original pattern. And it's interesting because if you look at the original pattern, it's a little bit perplexing, right? The Jews were in Mitzrayim, they were in Egypt, it was terrible for them. They were in hardship. And what does Hashem do? Hashem gives them 10 plagues, right? One after the other, incredible divine miracles. And God takes them out of Egypt. Incredible divine miracles, right? It was thought to be impossible. And then they come to the splitting of the sea. And again, incredible miracles that we're told that the most simple Jew at that time was on the highest spiritual level. They had a more intimate connection with Hashem, with God, than later prophets had. Like, just imagine for a moment, if we were there, right? If we were there, now you all are not simple Jews, right? You're holy women, but if you were there, like, imagine what level we would have been at. Now, what happens next? You would think that what happens next is the next thing that happens. They're an incredible high level. They get the Torah, but they don't. What happens next is they go into the midbar. They go into the desert. And the desert, it's a place that is symbolic of, like, no growth, no life, death, darkness. Like, why does Hashem do this? Why does God do this to us? He takes us from this incredible high level into this disappointing, dark, difficult place, and then for 6 weeks we're through the desert, and then we come out and we get the Torah. And the idea here is that what's going on here is the roots for the pattern that we will see again and again and again throughout Jewish history and throughout our own lives. What is this pattern? Pattern is that life has 3 phases, right? The first phase that we have is the phase that we like, right? It's the phase that we feel inspired, we feel connected, we hear something that's inspiring us, it touches our soul, we read something, we see someone do something, and we're like, wow, we feel inspired and connected. What's guaranteed to happen next is phase number 2, and that is the phase of disappointment, where that is the phase where the inspiration goes. We kind of feel like, I don't know, why did I start this? Or what am I doing wrong? It's so hard. And you'll see this in every area of life. You'll see this in relationships. You'll see this in life changes. You'll see this in every area of your life. And if we had more time, I could give you more examples of how we see this. Maybe we can do that later, but you will see this. Why does this pattern happen? And I'll share with you something. And when we understand that on a deep level, and when we continue to remind us, it changes the way we look at life, and it can change how we go through these 2 phases. So what is it? The first phase is a phase where it's a gift, right? Hashem is giving us this gift and showing us, look who you can become, right? But we're not there yet. Then Hashem takes that gift away in order that we can become there. And I'll give you an example of how this has happened, of where this happens. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of teaching a child to ride a bike, right? So you got this kid on a bike, and either the kid is on training wheels, or let's imagine you've taken the training wheels on, you're holding the child, and the child is pedaling and they're riding a bike. And if you could, get inside the mind of the child, it's exciting, it's exhilarating. They feel like, wow, I'm riding a bike. As the adult, as the teacher, what do we do at that point? We let go. Why? How cruel right? Because what happens next is the kid suddenly like loses balance and falls, and maybe they scrape their knee, and they like why do you do that? Like, why on earth, if you love me, right? If we can get into the mind of the child, especially if it's your kid, the child's going to be like, if you love me, why are you letting go? And as a loving adult in that child's life, why do we let go? We let go precisely because we love them. And we let go because we know that the only way this child will learn to ride a bike independently is when we let go, right? It's great. The child thinks they're riding a bike, but we know they're not riding a bike. They're not riding a bike. They're only able to balance themselves because I'm holding on, right? It's not independent. It's not real. If they were to get on the bike tomorrow when I'm not there, they couldn't do anything. The only way that they can learn to ride a bike is if I hold on and then let go, right? I show them this is what it feels like to ride a bike. It's exciting, right? It's something to aim for. And then I let go so they can learn to do it on themselves. And yes, they are going to fall. And yes, that process may be painful, but that is precisely how they learn to do it independently. Let's bring it back to our own lives, right? We hear something exciting. We hear something that inspires us, right? And we're like, wow, this is who I want to become. I want to become that person that has that faith in God, right? We see someone who has faith, who's able to go through challenging times and hold on tight, right? And we feel inspired. And maybe you think, right, that's it, I'm going to have that faith. And what happens is you have day one, you feel so connected, you're able to see God in your life, you're able to like say everything that happens is good for the good. And maybe it even lasts for day 2 or day 3, and then suddenly day 4 something happens and you're like, I don't feel it anymore. And you're like, what usually happens at that point to us is we feel like, what am I doing wrong? Why does everyone else manage to have faith and I don't? Or why does everyone else manage to do this and I don't? What am I doing wrong? The reason that the thing that's happening here is you're doing nothing wrong, right? And when we switch that in our mind, when we realize like, oh, this isn't that I'm doing anything wrong. This is phase 2. This is the part where Hashem is taking his hands off the bike, so to speak, right? Hashem is letting go of my hand, so to speak. If you use the analogy of teaching a child to walk, it's the same pattern there, right? You hold the child's hand, the child and you let go, the child falls, and eventually that's how they learn. Hashem is letting go of that big gift of inspiration, because this is when I build it into myself. Let's go back to the Jews in Egypt and see it again, right? The Jews came out of Egypt. It was incredible. They were on such a high level. What happens next? They don't get the Torah right away. Hashem takes them into a desert. It's a place of darkness. That inspiration is gone. Why? Because God, Hashem, is telling them, you now have 7 weeks, right? You now have 7 weeks of 7 days, and every week has a different energy, and every day has a different energy. And you are going to count those 7 weeks, because every single day you are going to build something into yourselves, right? This is your time, not where I, Hashem, am giving this to you, where I am lifting you up to this level. I am going to sort of take my hands off so that you can learn to do it independently. And interestingly enough, if you think about the counting of the Omer, we count up. We don't count the days left, right? Yes, we are counting towards Shavuos, but it's not just a simple passive waiting of time to go. It's a counting up. It's a counting every single day, saying, you know what? Today is day 1. Today I built something, right? Today is day 2. Today I built something too. And it also, by the way, teaches us how we're supposed to look at our progress, right? So often we look at, the goal where we're going towards, right? I want to become that person that has that faith. I want to be someone who doesn't talk badly about other people. I want to be someone who is positive. I want to be someone who's calm and patient in my relationships, whatever your goal is, right? And we look at the goal, right? And we often look at like, how far away from us. The Omer teaches us, count up. Right? What did you do today? to build that into your life, right? And every day has that energy, has a different, it relates to the spheres, and every day has a different work that you can do on it. But it's the same idea there. It's yes, we have to have a goal. We are counting towards getting the Torah. We are building ourselves into people that are capable of receiving the Torah. But once you know your goal, you have to focus on the pathway, right? You have to focus on, what am I building today? Right? What is my pathway to get there? What do I have to do day by day? And if I've done today's day one, then that's something to celebrate. That's something that becomes part of me, right? It's not a question of like, oh my goodness, I've still got 48 days left to go. No, it's a question of like, you've built day one. You've built that into yourselves, right? That is now a part of you. And when you look at the pattern and how the pattern finishes, right? What ends is stage 3. And you think that stage 3 is stage 1, but it's not, right? Because when does Shavuos come? It doesn't come on day 49. It comes on day 50, right? We count 49 days, but the result is above that. Why don't we count day 50? If we're counting towards Shavuos and Shavuos is on day 50, we should count. Today's day 50. I made it. We don't count. Why? Because every single day we build something, right? And that's our job, is to build day by day by day. But what's important to know is that the result happens. The result is kind of like is bigger. Is bigger than just what we do, right? If you think about the Jews when they come to Har Sinai, right? They are those people that were at there, but this time it's themselves. They've made themselves those types of people that were able to actually, see God, like hear God's voice. That's incredible. That's incredible. We see the pattern in biology, right? If you have a mother and a father, and you have the pregnancy, and what results, it's not just the sum of the mother and the father. What results of that process is a child, a completely new human, right? The result of our work is transcendent, and it's important for us to realize that, because a lot of times, we look at a goal and we're like, it's too big, I could never do that, right? Like, that's not me. I'm not that type of person that could be whoever is inspiring me right now. And what we have to realize is that's not our job. That's not our job to get there, to make that. Our job is to build the pathway, to take step by step by step, just like the days of the Omer is teaching us. Count each day, right? Focus on what you can do each day to build that into yourselves. And then the result of that is going to be something that is bigger, that is transcendent, that transcends the work that you've put in. And I'll share with you a story that someone told me recently, which really, really talks about that. And there's a woman that I'm very, very close with, whose family was not a Shomer Shabbat. They did not keep Shabbat a few years ago. And it was something that her husband, more than her, wanted to build into the family to start celebrating Shabbos. And I asked her, and they've been on a journey for 3 years. And I asked her a few weeks ago, I was like, last week actually, I asked her, I was like, how's Shabbat going for your family? And she said to me, it's just a part of our life. Like, we don't really think about it. It's just our routine. And I was like, wow, can you imagine 3 years ago that you would have imagined that you would ever say that in 3 years? Like, Shabbat was a struggle. Shabbat was like, should we do it? Shouldn't we do it? But like, the thought of being the type of person that Shabbat's just a part of our routine was something that was beyond what she could imagine. And yet, here she is. Right? And maybe you can see that in your own life, right? You can look at something that you've worked on and you look at the result and you're like, I don't know how I got there. I don't know how I got there. And this is it. This is it. Why? Because our job is to build the pathway, to do the work day by day by day. And the result, when we do that, is Matan Torah. The result is Hashem coming and giving us the gift of the Torah. The result is transcendent. And I think it's so important for us when we're in this time of the year, of the Jewish calendar, is to really bring that lesson, because we all have that pattern in our life, right? That pattern where we feel inspiration. And then guarantee what comes next is disappointment. And instead of thinking to yourself, what am I doing wrong? Recognize this is nothing wrong. This is normal. This is what's supposed to happen. And this is where I build it for myself. This is where I just put kind of like my head down and focus on what do I need to do day by day by day to build it into myself. And know that when we do that, the result of it is Shavuot. The result of it is that incredible experience at Sinai, where Hashem came and spoke to us, right? It was transcendent. It was much, much greater than if you added up 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, you're going to get 49. The Jews got 50. And that's something to bear in mind as we're working through this phase 2, this phase where it's day by day. It's the account. It's not just counting. It's the accounting, right? It's holding ourselves accountable that I do the small bit of work every single day. Walk that pathway. And then, please God, Hashem will give us a result that is transcendent, that is bigger than just the sum of the parts that we've put in. Thank you, everyone, so much for inviting me to be part of this. Thank you.
Wow, that was so amazing. I'm getting so much from it. Do you have a few moments if anyone has any questions?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, does anyone have a question for Gila?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Charlene, start us off.
The question is, okay, so when we do this work, like sometimes we forget to say a day. We completely forgot. So what do? We catch up 2 days in a row? Or what's the process? Is it one step at a time? And buildings, if you build a building and you forgot a stone, your whole building has no stability. My question is, what if you don't? I met 2 Sephardic women yesterday. We talked about Sfirat HaOmer, and they told me, we women, we don't say. We are Moroccan, only the boys say it. I says, no way. You need to say the bracha and you need to work on the midah every day. So this lecture come up because I'm going to forward it to them. But my question is, what if you skip? Or what if you don't say?
Right,
if you don't do the work.
So I think it's a great question. A really great question and a very relevant question, because I can almost guarantee that there's going to be a day where you don't do the work, right? Hashem made us as humans. Hashem made us as flawed, imperfect people, and Hashem doesn't, Hashem knows that, right? And I think the best approach when you don't do it is just get back on. Don't worry about catching up. Don't worry about because that getting into that catch-up mode, it just brings us down. Usually it's not coming from a place of the Yetzer Tov, right? The drive that wants us to be better. Usually it's coming from that place that brings us down and tries to say, you messed up. There's no point in continuing. There is. Just get back on, right? Get back on as quickly as possible. If you miss what, it's obviously I'm not talking about with the bracha, but I'm saying I'm not getting into the halacha of counting, but I'm saying in terms of the development, the self-development, just get back on, right? Hashem, there's a process of teshuvah. If we hurt other people, if we did something wrong, there's a process of teshuvah that we can engage in. But if it's just that we didn't do the work, these days are going to happen. These days are going to happen. That is part. It's like that child that that falls off the bike. What would you tell them? You'll tell them it's part of the process, right? That's how you learn, because you kind of, because you lost balance, you're going to learn that next time I've got to pedal a bit faster to keep my balance. And that's the same thing with us. When we fall off, I fell off. What do I learn from this? Get back on, keep going. Don't worry. Don't beat yourself up over it. Thank you. I think that was a really important question. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Does anyone else have a question?
I could ask a question if it's okay.
Go ahead, Michaliva.
Sure. First of all, Charlene, thank you for that question. It was really beautiful. Good question. Great question. My question would be something that I do sometimes grapple with, which is, so we're told, like you said, Leil Pesach, we're kind of given this big picture of who we are, and like you were describing. So so my grappling point is here, how much that I believe is who I am, and maybe or could we fall into an illusion of like who we want to become? I don't think I'm asking the question clearly, but like the difference between really knowing who we are, like I feel I have great capacities, but how do I know that I'm not holding on or thinking something that's not really me? Does that make sense as a question?
It does make sense. And if I understand the correct question correctly, what I would say is there's if you feel that you have capacities, you do have huge capacities, right? We as human beings, we have huge capacities, and that is correct. The other part of it is being authentic with where I am right now, right? And just like, you know, B'nai Ephraim, they you can't rush through a process, right? You have to, you do have that capacity, you do have that huge capacity, and you have in Mitzvah Hashem a long life to fulfill that capacity and to grow that capacity beyond what you even see. The other part of it is being authentic with where am I right now and what is the next step that I need to take, right? Does that sort of clarify the question? Does that sort of address the question? Is that?
Yes, and I'm not sure. Meaning, I don't want to say yes and no, but I think that this just might be my. This is so vulnerable. Like maybe this is just my issue of like not really knowing. This is going to sound so weird. It's like not really knowing who I am, even though I know who I am. There's a part of me that really doesn't know who I am. Meaning, like I have roles that I very much love to be in, and I have aspirations, but there's a part of me that doubts who I am, meaning maybe like there's things that are still not tapped into. And I want to believe that Hashem if Hashem is showing it to you on Pesach, then why do I still feel like something's not revealed to me? Again, I really, it's very hard to articulate. So I don't know. Basia knows me well. Maybe you can
Right.
fill it.
I would ask you a question. The part of you that's doubting who you are, is that part of you helping you grow or holding you back?
Holding me back.
So then I think that voice is not a helpful voice, and you can listen to it and say, interesting, I have a different opinion, right? Like it's not every voice that we hear. I mean, that's the voices, right? The voices that tells us that you can do this, you're amazing, you know, Hashem's given you that thing, and the voice is like, really, you know, like, I don't know, I'm not sure right? But that voice is holding us back. So it's kind of the voice that we don't have to give a lot of attention to.
That's interesting. That's a great insight.
I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Gila.
My pleasure. I'm happy to explore further if anyone wants or whatever. I've got more. I don't know how long you go for, but I can answer more questions if anyone has more questions.
We have to finish at 9, but we still have a few more minutes.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Firma.
I just feel like from what you're saying, I don't know if I'm just like feeling it in my own life or if there was like, but when you grow to a certain level, you could expect a new challenge to come your way. Is that like watch out, here comes a new challenge, like you're going to be tested again? Or is that just, or can you circumvent that by just pushing yourself and not getting another test? I don't know. Does that make sense? Like Hashem is pushing you to a whole new level, so you're going to have a new challenge, a new test in your life. Is that like, or is that
well,
like?
That is a good question, and I would say that this is the world of becoming. So we're always going to be challenged. Does that mean that the challenges are always going to be painful? Not necessarily. Sometimes the challenges, sometimes the challenges are an opportunity that comes, and sometimes the challenges are painful. So are we always is life always going to challenge us to grow? Yes, because that's what we're here to do. We are here to grow and become bigger and better versions of ourselves. Will that challenge always be painful? Not necessarily. It depends on what Hashem has in store for our life, your personal life. So does that answer the question?
I think it answers the question. It's just like we have to work on ourselves constantly and grow and have our support system in place. So whatever our challenges are, we're not in it alone. We have to set ourselves up for success, basically.
Yeah, and also to know that with the challenges, Hashem gives us the, kaiches to go through them. So if we're talking about challenges that are that are painful, right? Or and the truth is, any challenge, even if that challenge is an opportunity that seems bigger than we are, Hashem gives us both, right? Hashem gives us the challenge, and Hashem gives us, doesn't mean it's easy, right? But that we do have, knowing that we have the capacity to go through that challenge.
So if I may interject, after Chet HaEgel, we got the
Yes.
Torah, we got the light. After Chet HaEgel, we have to start not counting days, but we have to do the process of Teshuvah until Yom Kippur. For me, Sirat Omer is a piece of work, but I don't think it stops there. It continues throughout the year. I feel like 6 days a week is little stepping stone, come Shabbat, meditation, look at my life again, and then continue. It's not, Sirat Omer is really specific spheres and specific places. So we are balanced altogether after 49 days, but the work is constant. That's my experience of life. It's not just 49 days, you know.
100%. The work is constant, and I think what I was hoping to try and do to here is how that pattern that we see of Pesach, Omer, and Shavuos is a pattern that goes through our entire year, right? That does go through our entire year, and we can use that when we feel that lack of inspiration, whether it's in Elul or Cheshvan or whenever it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great awareness. It's very eye-opening.
Thank you.
Can I also add a comment? So based on what you said about the story, you know, the fellow who missed his opportunity and then he took the opportunity the next time it came, and then who he became, like going back to Michal Liba's question, it's like there's a process, and sometimes we want to get to an outcome without working the process the way the process needs to become, or even how we see ourselves. I know for myself, I've been a Baal Tshuva for 32 years. I could never have imagined who I became even at this moment. And I know I'm in constant transformation. So I personally try not to define myself of who I am or where I'm at, because I know that if I continue to work the process, as you said so beautifully, throughout the year, through every chag, that when I get to that chag by the next year, I hope I'm not the same person. I hope I don't even recognize that person who I was, the person before recognizes the person I am, because that's the opportunity HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving me. So in terms of knowing who I am, we had also a beautiful speaker talks about the hidden part of ourselves, revealed part of ourselves, which come out with our spouses and comes out with friends, and just throughout our lifetime, that constant evolving of who we are. And I'm just so grateful for everything you shared today. I gained so much from it. So thank you so very much. It's 9 o'clock, so we have to finish today. So thank you so much again, Gila, for coming on. And we you helped us